I'm giving you my free play and prediction for all 4 college football playoff games for this Friday night and all day Saturday. 10,000 game simulation, my database projections, also let you know what side the public is on. All that information coming up free for you in this video right now. Hi, this is Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, right back here on WagerTalk TV with my first ever college football playoff preview. Well, maybe we've done the semifinals in the past, I don't know, but this is the first round of 12 preview ever history of college football. We do 4 games here in this preliminary round, 1 Friday night, and then of course 3 all day and Saturday night. I'm going to let you know my projection for the simulation, my 10,000 game simulation, like I do every week in my top 25 video. Also going to mix in a little bit of the fade the public here, let you know what side the publics are backing, and also let you know how I would play these games. All that's coming up for you right now. Let's start with that Friday night game, then we'll get to the Saturday games. Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, ESPN ABC. By the way, home games for all 4 favorites, and Notre Dame is the first one, -7, total 52. Now, this line was as high as 8 earlier in the week. It's come down to that key number of 7, and that's because the public is leaning towards Indiana. I'd say we have a public dog in this game, and we don't just blindly fade public dogs, but we look for a reason to do it, and I think we have a few here with Notre Dame who is the better team. First of all, my 10,000 game simulation right online here favors Notre Dame by 7, so I think the line is spot on, but I like the matchup for the Irish for a couple reasons. First of all, Cignetti's done a great job as first-year head coach at Indiana. He came over from James Madison, a perennial FCS powerhouse in the playoffs. Of course, they're now an FBS team in the Sun Belt. Cignetti is very comfortable winning in the playoffs, and he's a quality underdog coach. But Indiana was only an underdog once all season, and they went 0-1 straight-up ATS in that game. That, of course, was a 25-point loss against Ohio State, or 23-point loss, rather, 38-15 against Ohio State. And keep in mind, the week before that, they struggled offensively against Michigan, scoring just 20. Put that in perspective. Indiana in all other games this season averaged over 45 points per game. But when stepping up in class against Ohio State, 15, Michigan, 20, and even their win on the surface, 31-17 against Washington, while that appeared impressive, they only had about 300 total yards in that game. So I do think a very good Notre Dame defense can keep them in check in this one. Irish allowing less than 14 points a game, only 4.5 yards per play. And Indiana's a little bit one-dimensional. They run the ball for 4.5 yards per rush against teams that allow 4.4. Their passing attack is what was well above average this season, but Notre Dame has an excellent pass defense, just 5.6 yards per pass allowed. Now, it is concerning that Notre Dame struggled against USC a couple weeks ago. That was probably the best offensive opponent they faced, so that's a little bit of a hedge here, but I think Notre Dame has a substantial edge on the ground running the ball. They've run for over 200 yards in 6 of their last 7 games. On the season, they actually rushed for more yards than they passed, 225 yards, 6.5 yards per carry. Now, Indiana does have one of the best statistical run defenses in the country, giving up just 2.5 yards per carry, just 71 yards a game. But then again, they were a favorite in winning big in most of the ball games, so their opponents didn't run as much. They did hold Michigan and Ohio State in check, but Ohio State's been a very mediocre rushing attack this season. Nothing like Notre Dame. This is by far the toughest rush attack that Indiana has faced, and Notre Dame is a really good defensive team. It's right on my number at 7, but we'll fade the public here. At 7 or less, I would lean towards the Irish on Friday night. All right, let's dig into the 3 Saturday games. First game on Saturday goes at noon Eastern, Penn State and SMU. I believe this one also ESPN ABC, if I'm not mistaken, and then the 2 night games are on TNT. And this is an interesting matchup because you've got an SMU team like Indiana that nobody thought would be in the playoffs. Really a remarkable run here this season for the Mustangs in the ACC, but they also benefited from a pretty weak schedule. Just like Indiana avoided some of the better teams in the Big Ten, SMU avoided basically all the good teams in the ACC, and that's not saying much because the ACC was really down a notch. Oh, by the way, I just checked. This game is on TNT Max, and so is Clemson, Texas. The late game, Tennessee, Ohio State, is on ABC, ESPN again. I actually misspoke. I did a solo video on that Tennessee game, so scratch that. I said that game was on TNT Max. Doesn't matter. You'll find them. They're on national TV. However, SMU really avoided most of the quality teams in the ACC, and that conference was down on top of that. When they did finally face Clemson, they were down by, 17 in the fourth quarter. Came back to make the game close, but still really haven't stepped up in class this season overall. In fact, the only other time they faced a pretty good team was against BYU as a 12-point favorite back in September, and they lost that game outright. Only scored 15 points, and of course the 31 against Clemson, a little misleading as they didn't put much offense up until late in that game. Only other game in which they were an underdog this season was against Louisville on the road. They did win that game by 7 at Louisville. So this is by far the toughest opponent they faced. And one thing about Penn State, and really James Franklin, not only at Penn State but other schools as well, is that he's been a great favorite but a bad underdog. And that's held up again this season as Penn State is 0-2 straight up and against the spread. The 2 times they've been a 3-point dog, losing by 7 and 8 against Ohio State at home and Oregon on a neutral. But they're a perfect undefeated team when laying points this year straight up, an 11-0 straight up record when laying points. So the question becomes, is this line fair? Well, my database simulation favors them by 7.5. Current line is 8.5. So yes, it's a little bit pricey, but if you're going to play it, I would lay it with Penn State. I think they're going to win this game, and that means they most likely cover. It could be very cold weather as well, which probably benefits Penn State more than a Texas-based SMU squad. The matchup here is interesting also. We've got a Penn State team that has held teams in check defensively this year, giving up just 4.7 yards per play. SMU offensively has been good, but once again, that's come against a pretty weak schedule, and their rushing attack has been very mediocre. So it's very much like Indiana. Weak schedule, throw the ball better than they run, and Penn State defends the pass and the run extremely well. I would lay it with the Nittany Lions. Line is a little inflated. I predict 7.5, but once again, I'd rather be on Penn State if you're playing this game. All right, another game on TNT Max. We'll get these networks straight. Some wild networks here for these games. Is Clemson, Texas at 4 o'clock Eastern Saturday afternoon. And this is a situation in which it looks strange to see Clemson catching double digits. I get that. By the way, the public was leaning a little bit towards SMU. They're leaning a little bit towards Clemson. But the most public dog of these first 3 would have been Indiana. Pretty neutral in these 2 games. As far as my simulation, spot on here. I've got Ohio State winning. I'm sorry, we'll get to that game in a moment. I've got Texas winning by 11.5 on average. This line has gone from 11 up to 12 now. So it's pretty much spot on. We're going to look at the total instead for that reason. I do like the under 51.5 in this game. First of all, Clemson really struggled offensively this year against good teams. You look at that Week 1 game against Georgia way back in August. They scored only 3 points, had only 180 total yards. Of course, Texas also struggled against Georgia, scoring just 15 and 19 the 2 times they played. I do think Texas is the better team here. I favor them by 11.5. I think they will win this game. I just do worry about them extending their lead, though, because once again, offensively, they struggled against Georgia, and they also struggled against Texas A&M the week before that, scoring just 17. They scored only 20 against Arkansas. In fact, they've scored 20 or less now in 3 of their last 4 games, but the defense is legit. Best defense in the nation on a yards per play basis. They're giving up just 4 yards per play against teams that average 5.7 this season. Clemson offensively very mediocre, 6.3 against teams that allow 5.8. Texas gives up 4.0. Clemson also has run the ball better than they've thrown the ball this year. 5.2 yards per rush, 181 yards a game. But if you dig deeper, they've been struggling recently. In 4 of their last 5 games, they have averaged less than 180 yards rushing. So they've actually really struggled to run the ball more late in the season. And that's a bad sign because Clemson did not throw the ball well this year. 7.3 yards per pass came against teams that allowed 7.4. Texas gives up just 5.1. So when Clemson gets behind in this game, which I think they will, they don't have a ton of backdoor cover potential. Once again, I am a little concerned, though, that Texas didn't step up well in class this year either, especially offensively. I think under 51.5 is probably the best play here in this game. By the way, it opened as high as 53. It's been bet down to 51.5. 51 is the key number. There's about a 3 to 4% chance that this game lands exactly 51. Obviously, 31-20 is a very likely outcome in this matchup, but you also have 41-10, 27-24. There's so many margins that get you there. 51 is the most key total in this entire price range. So at 51.5, you automatically have about a 3 to 4% better chance of winning with the under. I think that's the play at 4 o'clock Eastern. All right, your final game is that late game. Now we're back on ESPN, ABC. I'm getting all confused by the networks. Not that it matters, but once again, this is your 8 o'clock Eastern game Saturday night, Tennessee, Ohio State. I think this is the best matchup of the week. And ding, ding, red flag alert, this is a public underdog. In fact, the most public dog this week is the Tennessee Volunteers. Yet we saw this line go from 7 to 7.5 a week ago with some sharp money initially coming in on Ohio State. So I think we have a sharp square divide in this game as well. Let's look at my database simulation. 10,000 games simulated on average. I've got Ohio State winning this game by 9 points. So I actually think the line is fair. And if it drops to 7 or less, which it might by Saturday night, there is some value then with Ohio State. Now, if you're playing Tennessee, I would recommend playing it sooner than later. Once again, at plus 7.5, it's not worth trying to catch an 8. Public dog here. More money will come in on Saturday from the public especially. So if you like Tennessee, you play it earlier than later at plus 7.5. If you like Ohio State, I would wait and try to find a -7 by kickoff Saturday night, which might start to show with more public money coming in. But once again, I like Ohio State here. I project a 9-point win. Also like the fact they're coming off a bad loss as a 19-point favorite. You know, this is an angle I use a lot in the NCAA men's basketball tournament for decades now, is to play high seeds, good quality teams, Class A teams that lost coming into the tournament. Normally that's in the conference tournament, obviously in college basketball. It's early on here in the new football playoff system, so we don't have a lot of data, but it'll be interesting over the next few years to see if it holds up in college football as well. In fact, all 3 home favorites here on Saturday are teams coming off a loss. Penn State, Texas, and of course Ohio State here. And what that tells you is they were good enough to lose and still get a home game in the playoffs. Now, they probably would have gotten first-round byes otherwise. I fully understand that. But Ohio State also didn't have to play Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, a rematch there. So a little less wear and tear on them for that reason. Tennessee, of course, is rested as well, not playing in their conference championship. But Ohio State, other than that, lost to Michigan to finish the regular season, and that's a rival dog, of course, always a dangerous game. They fared really well this year. You know, they had a 1-point loss at Oregon back in October. Keep in mind, they were a 3-point road favorite at Oregon at the time. So they were saying they were almost a touchdown better than Oregon a month and a half ago. And then, of course, they had the impressive win against Indiana that we talked about earlier by 23. Also beat Penn State on the road as a road favorite, a 3-point road favorite. So this is a really good Ohio State team. And while 7.5 might seem pricey, the line is a little shorter now because of that loss to Michigan. And I also like the matchup. Tennessee's a bully. On Hypo, they beat up on bad teams, and then they struggle more when they get in conference play. We saw that again this year. First 3 games of September, they won those 3 games by scoring 190 combined points. In fact, we had a best bet on them in that 71-0 blowout of Kent State the 3rd week of the season, off to a 10-3 college football start this year. That was one of our winners. But then they started playing SEC opponents after that, and in 6 of their next 7 games, they scored 28 or less points. So I do think Ohio State's defense can hold Tennessee in check here. Ohio State's allowing less than 11 points a game, just 4.2 yards per play. You know, the problem against Michigan wasn't the defense. They held Michigan to 13 points. It was the offense with only 250 yards. And yes, Michigan's a good defensive team. Defending national champs still, don't forget. Tennessee's a good defense also, but Ohio State's an explosive Class A offense that I think will bounce back with a couple weeks to prepare. They're averaging almost 7 yards per play this year, whereas Tennessee's averaging just 6.3 against teams that allow 5.8. Ohio State holds the defensive matchup edge, and they still hold a slight edge offensively, even against a good Tennessee defense. I like Ohio State here. I'd like it better if you can get -7 or less, so keep an eye on this line. But I do project a 9-point win. I think the matchup favors the Buckeyes as well on Saturday night. Hey, there you go. Quick hitter. All 4 college football playoff games. I'll look to do this again next week. If you're finding it useful, comment below and let me know, and I will keep these videos coming during the college football playoff season and the bowl season as well. Thumbs up, like also. It takes 1 second. Boom. Click that thumbs up, like button, and I will continue to do these free play videos here on WagerTalk TV. Also, let me know your thoughts. Where do you agree or disagree with the public and some of these underdogs? Public is leaning dogs in most games, a little bit more at Indiana and definitely on Tennessee. Do you agree or disagree? What sides or totals do you like on playoff Friday night and Saturday here? And what are your thoughts on the playoffs? You know, I like the playoffs. I've been a proponent for decades for a playoff system. I'm an FCS guy, so they've done it for years and decades in the 1AA level with success. But I will say this year's playoffs are a little lackluster. I mean, Arizona State, Boise getting byes. Alabama not even in the top 12. It's a little lackluster. I think any of these teams could probably win it. There's really not a dominant team this year in college football. But hey, drop some predictions below, not only for these games, but who's going to win the whole thing as well. Will one of these teams this weekend win the national title? That's a good prop right there. Or will it be one of those 4 teams with a bye? I mean, Georgia, Oregon really are the only 2 that can probably get it done of those. Let me know your thoughts below. Include some analysis of the plays you like. Let's learn and earn and win together here on WagerTalk TV. And don't forget, if you're finding these videos useful, let me know. Comment below and thumbs up, like, and I will keep them coming. I've also got your Sunday and Monday night NFL games and my NFL Fade the Public videos this weekend. Also doing more daily basketball, college, and pro basketball free plays. If you're liking them, comment and thumbs up, like. Also, make sure you click subscribe and you click that bell for an instant alert so you know when a video is posted each and every day when the free plays are posted right here on WagerTalk TV. Almost 190,000 subscribers. Click subscribe, but make sure you click that bell as well for instant alerts. Most importantly, if you want my official best bets each and every day, go to my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Look, I try to give you as much information in these free play videos, especially these high-profile games. but many of them aren't strong enough to be best bets. They're light leans only, maybe opinions. If you want my personal plays, the games I am actually using every day, it's quite simple. Become a client and you will get my actual best bets each day. The same games I have won with consistently now for 29 straight years as a full-time professional handicapper. Same games that are up over 100 units already this year. We have already doubled our bankroll this calendar year. In fact, we had doubled our bankroll after October, after just 10 months. Had a drawdown in November. It happens. Not going to win every week or every month. And now we're back in December and up over 60% to start the month of December. Up over 100 units this year. And going back just a little bit further to the start of last year's football season, about 15 months ago, up over 200 units in all sports. That's right, a double of your bankroll in just over a year. Look, my method works. My best bets work. I've done this for 29 straight years. You're getting the exact same games I'm winning with on a consistent basis. And this weekend is a great time to jump on board as we have both a 1 month and a 1 year special available. First of all, it doesn't matter what package you choose, whether it's a 1 day, a 1 month, or a 1 year. Every client gets the exact same games I'm using. I'm very selective, maybe 2 to 3 best bets on average per day. The 1 month special works like this. You buy January, you get the rest of December for free. So buy January, you're going to get the rest of this year, the next 2 weeks for free. That's great if you're still building your bankroll or if you're new to WagerTalk.com. Those of you that are with me, though, this is your chance to get the 1 year all access and save big. It's the biggest savings I offer. Instant $811 discount and no promo code needed this weekend for a 1 year all access. That's going to include college and pro football, college and pro basketball, and Major League Baseball for the next 365 days and nights. Instant $811 discount gets it down to exactly $99 a month, $3 a day, just over $1 per play. That is how you take a true investment approach. Now, once again, if you're still building your bankroll, hey, nothing wrong with that. Do the 1 month special. Buy January, get the rest of December, these next 2 weeks for free. Sooner you get on board, the sooner the more days you get for free. But if you're ready to take the long-term serious investment approach, don't miss out the 1 year all access, instant $811 discount with no promo code needed. Once again, both of those are on my page right now. Go to Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, click on Steve Merril. You will see the daily best bets for football and basketball, including some advanced bowl games that are posted right now. Right below that, you will see these 2 special offers, no promo codes needed. Click on the buy January, get the rest of December free, or the 1 year all access for $1 a play, and you'll get the instant savings and you'll be ready to go. Plays are emailed to you with analysis the minute they're released. You can also log into the website every day to get them. And oh, by the way, right below the specials, don't forget about the bonus daily free play. I'm very selective, which means my last cut goes up as a free play. Game that's just a bit outside. Those free plays have cashed this year as well. Free daily basketball or football play on my page as well, right below those special offers. Don't delay. Go there right now. Check it out. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Hey, get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM. Follow me on social media at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on X and Instagram. And stay tuned to here to Wager Talk TV. You know there's more free play videos coming up next.